Today we're gonna set up a micro shrimp tank so that the colony in it absolutely explodes. First thing I'm gonna do, and it's the thing I do every single time I start aquascaping, I hook up my Illumagic light. The reason I use higher end lighting whenever I'm building a scape is it brings out the real color in every single one of the rocks you use and the plants you use. It just makes it pop a lot more, which means you get more excited about it and you pay attention to the aesthetic of the tank a hell of a lot more. Boom. Now, it's important to note that shrimp need minerals. Whether you add that to the water by an outside source like GH boosters and stuff like that, or whether you use like some kind of an active substrate like an aqua soil, it doesn't really matter. If you're going low tech and you don't want to pay too much attention to it, go for the substrate. And if you're going to pay a lot of attention to your shrimps, or you're keeping varieties that are a little bit more finicky like a Caridina species, you need to go RO and you need to remineralize that water. Today, we're gonna do both. Okay, so this here is our substrate. Now I've pulled that out of a tank that's been running for about 6 months. And the reason I'm using pre-existing aqua soil is because every time you add fresh aqua soil to a tank, it starts to leach ammonia for the first at least 2 months. I wanna add shrimp in this tank today. I'm using stuff that's been in a tank already and the ammonia process has already happened. It just means that when I strain this out, it's gonna be really dirty, which will make the tank dirty, but I'm not too fussed because I have a cute little hack that'll clear that up in no time. Now, that big clump of aqua soil is what we're gonna use in this tank before we fill it, and hopefully I'll be able to root some plants straight into that. Now, the reason I put aqua soil in the bottom of every single one of my shrimp tanks is I like to not pay too much attention to my shrimp, so I just put a nice layer. Everyone does a really thin layer, but I like to put a relatively generous layer of substrate all across the bottom of my tank because I like to also plant my shrimp tanks as well. The reason I'm putting so much effort into the setup is because the more effort you put in now, the less effort you need to put in later. So when you're setting up a tank for shrimp, if you're planting it, you're actually gonna need to do less water changes, and the babies are gonna have more bacteria to eat when they are first hatched, so you get a higher survival rate from your babies and stuff like that. Okay, so for filtration, we are going with the Delua Fresh all-in-one. The reason I love these filters is the actual sponges will sit under the surface of the water, which means they get that bacteria growing on them. And then it's got a little spout. You can sort of see it here that grows above the surface of the water. And what that does is it creates gentle surface agitation. The reason I like these ones over all of the others is with a normal sponge filter, you've got the bubbles coming straight out of tube and they go straight up to the surface of the water, and it breaks the surface of the water really viciously, right? Now, if you look behind you, the tanks where you don't have bubbles are where you get the awesome looking roots on your floating plants. A lot of aquascapers, me included, look at that, absolutely love the roots coming down on plants because it creates a really cool effect in your aquarium. I want that for all of my shrimp tanks, so I'm gonna employ this filter. Less surface agitation, like less vigorous bubbles, means more floating plants. On top of the roots of floating plants looking really aesthetic, I also like it because those roots also hold bacteria, adds more habitat for the shrimp. Now I'm gonna put this bad boy in, and the reason I do that first is because normally when I build a scape, I will totally forget about doing this, and then afterwards I have to sort of break apart my aquascape to put this in and adjust the nozzle to be the right height above the water so that the nozzle is above the water and the sponges are beneath the water. You can also bend the arms of the filter to sort of lay down. It goes flat, but I like to keep them up so it keeps a sort of a low profile on the side. Way better look for aquascaping than those sponges that sort of just sit in the middle of your tank. The suction caps snap in on the side here, and you've got yourself a really kind of sucked in low profile thing that helps your shrimp a lot. That's all the filtration you're gonna need in a tank like this. It's not too big. These filters do up to 60 liters, perfect for shrimp tanks. Now, the other awesome thing to note about this filter here is you can see there's 2 chambers underneath the sponge itself. Those chambers you can actually fill with media. I fill it with media like this. I like to go biological. Some people will go half of biological and half being chemical, which is the carbon. All that does is creates more like crystal clear, nice, clean water. But I prefer to like get as much biological filtration as I possibly can out of tanks. So if you got a choice, pick up one of these and that'll fill both chambers of your sponge filter as well. And then you've got the normal filtration, which is biological, and then extra biological filtration in those 2 chambers. Soil's in, we got our light on and our filter set up. Now all we need to do is start to build the habitat. So I'll show you guys exactly what to do next in terms of choosing your habitat, choosing your hardscape, and then how to plant your tank for your breeding to go perfectly. Let's do it. What Gabs is relying on here isn't just random. This build is designed specifically for shrimp and caring for them at different points in their life. So the stone that she's picking is called Sirius stone, which will actually leach KH into the water, which means if you ever forget to remineralize your water or you don't remineralize at all, the exoskeletons are still going to be strong and the babies are still going to have a fighting chance. The Substrate's aquasoil, you guys know exactly why we use that, and it doubles as being able to plant in. And then we move over to the actual plant selection. The top 3 types of plants that you should be adding to any aquarium: floating plants that have got a really long root system, like water lettuce, salvinia, or frogbit. That creates almost a smorgasbord of bacteria for your baby shrimp, which if you don't already know, having a high survival rate of your baby shrimp is the secret to creating a colony that absolutely explodes and starts that snowball effect early. The mosses we chose is US Physidans and Java moss. The Java moss is such a good denitrifying choice. On top of that, it creates a little clump where your pregnant mums will go into, give birth, and the baby shrimplets, when they're at that microscopic size that can't find food from other sources, will feed on the bacteria on the inside of that Java moss to get strong enough so that they can start taking the powdered foods that you're feeding the tank as well. And then stemmed plants create habitat for both adults and for babies. Things like Rotala, Ambulia, and Ludwigia that tend to grow fast and suck lots of nitrates out of your water column. They're really good because they give you a buffer. If you accidentally overfeed your tank and you get pneumonia spike, that will rapidly be changed to nitrites and then nitrates, which is a much safer compound that is in your tank. As well as nitrates can be sucked out by your plants anyways. The reason floating plants do such a good job as well is that denitrifying effect again. Because they've got access to atmospheric CO2, it means that they're gonna grow at a really rapid rate. Atmospheric CO2, when the leaves of a plant are above the surface of the water and have the capability to breathe in CO2, just like plants on a leaf outside, it means that you don't need to supplement CO2 into your aquarium to get that enhanced growth. And just so you guys fully understand this, the faster and more healthy a plant grows, the more nitrates it's had to suck out of your tank, which means the more purifying of your water it's done.